God the glory in this house on this morning. Help me make one Holy Ghost Lord. Somebody shout glory. And blood still works. Oh yeah. Every now and then we have to plead the blood of Jesus. Amen. We have to plead the blood of Jesus and tell the devil that he is a liar. Tell him that he is a liar. You are above and not beneath. You are the head and not the tail. Lift your neighbor and tell your neighbor you got to plead the blood of Jesus. Amen. Amen. Sound mighty good over there. Amen. Give me about 14 that were right. Blood still works. Yeah. Why haven't the blood wash smoke in here? Talk to me somebody. You know beyond the shadow of doubt. You know when you were tossing and turning at night, when you wanted to get me here, when you wanted to give up, somebody shout the blood! The blood. It's still working. Said I wasn't going to tell nobody, but I just can't keep it to myself. When I think about the goodness of Jesus and all His done to me, my soul cries out. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I'm bloody and I ain't in nobody's game but Jesus. I'm bloody, but I ain't in nobody's game but Jesus. The blood still works. It still works. To all of my haters out there, I say to you, I apologize on behalf of the 49ers. Oh yeah, I know y'all gonna get me. But I shared with DJ, we was texting during the game, and I shared with him anytime you up 10 points and 6 minutes left, and you lose, you deserve to lose. Amen, somebody. Amen. The blood still works. Amen. Look good on that back door back there. That's why I want to see you from now on this side. Amen. 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 I still got a spot for you up here, brother Jeff. We'll talk about that later. You know that, Jeff? Yeah, don't look that well. That you, yeah. But I ain't gonna give you no keys. Cause the last one I gave him keys, he took off running, didn't he? Amen. He in Memphis now, ain't he? Somewhere for Reggie. Amen. Amen. Listen, there is a word from the Lord. If you would go to Isaiah, the 40th chapter, one verse, give you what God has given me to give you. Amen. Get out of here. It's crazy weather. 30 degrees one day and 70 the next day. Yeah. So many people sick. Closing down schools, you know it's bad. That right was for because you want them children to be in school. Right. They keep me out of the house and all that. School helps out. That little lunch that day helps out. School helps out, Pastor. That's what I'm saying, right? Heal the school, Lord. Amen. These kids gonna break. You trying to find somebody to sell some stamps. You trying to, the church says, you trying to do everything you can do to get some food in the house. Boy, they can eat, Pastor. I know. Isaiah 40 and 31. Very familiar passage of scripture. It says, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Just for a few minutes, look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, calm down and wait on it. Amen. Calm down. I'm excited. Calm down. Quit crying and wait on it. Calm down. Quit telling everybody and wait on it. Amen. The story was once told of a young lady who ambitiously growing up had a hard time being raised by a single parent, which was her father. In her household, the father did everything that he could do to make sure that the whereabouts and the well-being of the daughter was being taken care of. I'm building, I'm going somewhere. Nevertheless, as this young lady started to grow up and mature, she began to ask her father more questions concerning her mother and the issues of why her father never mentioned or talked about her mother. As a matter of fact, she couldn't understand why she had grandparents, why she had uncles, why she had cousins, but her father would never let her go see them. Stay with me, church. But to his surprise and chagrin, he continued to pray. He continued to pray because his daughter was pressing on him. She was pressing Uncle Winky. She was pressing Brother Terry on her father about the whereabouts of her mother. So he continued, Monty, to pray about the problems that he was faced up against as his daughter was in that I'm grown stage. And every parent in this house on this morning can be honest enough to say that maybe you have raised some kids that went through a stage where they thought they were grown until they figured out and drilled that the room that they were staying in did not belong to them. Until they figured out the clothes that they were wearing, they didn't pay anything for them. It did not belong to them. The I'm grown stage. He couldn't understand how his daughter could utter the wrong word out of her mouth when she was still Sonora living at home wearing the clothes and things that he bought, using his electricity that he pays for, and stand on the phone where the bill came in his name. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I'm grown is just a word or a phrase. It's just a word or a phrase. The father continued wanting to battle with the issue that was trying to get the best of him. In this, the father, Jeff, he had some sleepless nights. He paced the floor because his daughters was simply pressing and blaming him for the absence of her mother and the rest of her family. Finally, God stepped in and God spoke to him, and he demanded that he give his daughter all of the answers that she had been waiting for. So what the father done, he cooked a big dinner. They sat at the table, and he went to the back and got a letter out of the box of Kleenex out of the safe. She replied, she said, Daddy, what is this? He said, you know what? He says, you've been pressing me for all of these years. Your mama hadn't been around all of these years. I've been taking care of you and doing everything that I needed to do without saying a harsh word about the absence of your mother. Deacon Gutty, she opened the letter and it said these words: I don't want you. You were a mistake, and I'm leaving you with your father. Immediately, the young lady, she started crying and grabbing Kleenexes one after another, and she looked at her father and she told him, she said, thank you. The father immediately, he replied to his daughter, he said, it's okay. He said, but I thank God for giving me the strength to be able to wait on him and wait it out, even when I really wanted to get into the details of the business and I really could have hurted your feelings. Now, I don't know who I'm talking to in this house on this morning. Maybe you're feeling not wanted, like a mistake, or are on the verge of giving up. But God simply says to you and I that we need to wait on it and wait it out, because it's not worth it. It's not worth quitting. It's not worth giving up. And here we are. In the text, we find Isaiah, the major prophet. Sister Penny, he was sending a shout out to Israel, reminding them of the promise that God had left for the church, telling the church that they've come too far to give up and to turn around and go backwards. He shared with them if they would be obedient to what thus says the Lord and learn how to wait on it and wait it out, they would definitely like the results of it. Why would they like the results of it? Simply because anything worth having is worth waiting for. Am I preaching to anybody in this place on this morning that be honest enough to say, you know what, Pastor, there were a time or two in my life when I wanted to give up. I wanted to give in because God was not answering my prayer quick enough. But I'm excited to say in this house on this morning, I'm glad I waited on it. Amen. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, just have patience and wait on God. First off, in waiting on it. First off, in waiting on it and waiting it out. We have to make sure, Brother Terry, that we do not get ahead of God. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, don't get ahead of God. Now, Pastor Martell, why would you say do not get ahead of God? The scripture, it admonishes us and it tells us in the first few verses, first few words of the scripture, it says, but they that wait upon the who? On the Lord. In other words, do not get ahead of God. They signifies that all of us, including myself, have had a problem with waiting or is having a problem with waiting on the Lord. If either one of these accusations make you think, then you have to kind of back up and resubmit your resume and wait on him to call you back. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, slow down. You're moving too fast. That's spiritual revelation for somebody that really did not want to hear that. But the simple fact is God is admonishing us to do not get ahead of him and just wait on him. What happened? You were just about to get your breakthrough, but you got a false start. You took off and you left God. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I'm determined to wait this time. In other words, I ain't leaving God. I'm going to wait on God. I'm going to depend on God because I know that God will not put no more on me than I be able to bear. You remember that time in life when you got something that wasn't really meant for you? Break it down, Pastor. You got somebody else's man or woman that wasn't really meant for you, but because you couldn't wait, you got what you got. But if you would have waited on God, I'm trying to help somebody in this house on this morning. But if you had waited on God, maybe you would have got you a godly man. And the church says, don't get ahead. Don't get ahead of God. Slow it down. You're moving too fast. You remember that job that wasn't meant for you. You remember that house that you really didn't like. You remember that car that you couldn't stay paying the car note on. I just want you to leave out of this place on this morning knowing that whatever it is that God has for you, it is worth the wait. Isaiah, he begins to reiterate. What was he doing, Pastor Martell? He was reiterating that waiting works the promise. Is there anybody here that's honest enough to say, beyond the shadow of a doubt, you know God promised you something? You know what you've been praying for. You know you talk regularly to God, and you know that God has promised you something. If that's you, whatever it is that God has promised you, maybe God is testing you to see how much patience you really have this time around. Because you remember the last time that God had promised you something, you got ahead of God and you messed it up. Anybody ever felt like you got in God's business? All right. I have. It was going fine. God didn't need your help. He didn't need my help. But God told you what not to do. And you know how we do when we become impatient. We close our ears up. And then we find ourselves getting in a mess. And then we call the pastor because we need bond money. All right. Talk to me, church. We have a spiritual revelation for somebody. We have to learn, excuse me, how to wait on God. Waiting, it works the promise. It brings blessings. It opens doors. It guarantees salvation. Waiting answers prayers. Anything worth having is worth waiting for. Just nudge your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I'm waiting on mine. I'm waiting. I'm waiting on mine. It's kind of like, oh, I ain't tripping when I go through a broke season. Why? Because I've been broke before. Amen, somebody. I ain't jumping off no bridge. I ain't giving in. I ain't giving up. I ain't killing myself. I'm just going to wait on God. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I've been there before. I've been broke. I've been hungry. I've been tore up from the floor up. I've been messed up. I've been there before. So this time around, I'm going to wait on God. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, just don't get ahead of them. Don't get ahead of them. Patience is a virtue. It's worth it. It brings forth fruit. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, patience, please. Patience work in tribulation. Why should I wait, Pastor? You don't know what I've been going through. Why should I wait? Because it's worth waiting on. All right. Patience caused Job to get double for his trouble. Y'all remember what Job went through? 3 minutes, we closing. Y'all remember what Job went through? Job went through, first off, he had a foolish woman. Pastoring one-on-one, let me help somebody in this house on this morning. It's very vital and important if you're trying to move with God. It's very vital and important that you have somebody that's not foolish. Because as my deacon would say, to convince a fool of his will is a fool himself still. Get away from the foolish. The foolish, the Bible teaches us there are two types of people that we'll always have. The foolish and the poor. And I don't know about you all, but I'm trying to go somewhere. So God, deliver me around folk who ain't got nothing. And the church said, amen. And deliver me from people that have foolish ways. Amen. Give God some praise in this house on this morning. Whatever you do, because Job had patience. Think about what our Job went through. The devil got busy, and Job, he prayed more. He lost his woman, he lost his friends, and he almost lost his salvation until he came to his senses. But when you look at Job 42 and 10, just write that down. Don't play that number tonight. When you look at Job 42 and 10, you'll find out 42 and 10. When you look at Job 42 and 10, you'll find out, they said, what was it, Pastor? You'll find out that Job got double for his trouble. Amen, somebody. Y'all be ashamed of yourself. So we can't get ahead of God. And I leave you with this second. When you wait on God, when you wait it out, you grow in grace. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I'm growing in grace. Some of us sometimes, Andrew, our growth, you don't see it on the outside because sometimes God works on the inside first. So God says, if I can get you working right on the inside, then it'll show up on the outside. What do you mean, Pastor? You ain't got to go in nobody's face and tell them you go to church. They ought to be able to see some kind of church in you. You ain't got to wear this big old gold-plated cross. You ain't got to have this big old Bible. They ought to be able to see some Jesus in you. Amen. Anybody can go to church, but are you saved? I'm growing in grace. In other words, I'm going to make some mistakes, but please be patient with me, for God is not through with me. The second part, Pastor Davis, he said, they shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Amen, somebody. You grow in grace. In other words, it's kind of like the scripture said. Paul said, when I was a child, I thought as a child. I understood as a child. But when I became a man, I put away my childish things. In other words, when I was a child, I played with toys. But now that I'm a man, it's time for me to pick up my tools and go make some money. Amen, somebody. You begin to grow in grace. Waiting it out will cause you to grow up one way or the other. In life, with difficulties, we can do one or two things. Here it is right here. We can deal with it or get over it. Amen. And waiting it out, you're trying to do both. You're dealing with it and you're getting over it. You know, here in the B part, Isaiah compares our life to an eagle. What are you saying, Pastor Martha? Eagle. Think about the eagle and what the eagle does. The eagle spend a lot of time searching patiently, waiting on their prey. But once the eagle get it, he got it. You ever seen the eagle flying around and you wondering what's going on? I remember one time that there was an argument. It wasn't an argument, it was a discussion with Sister Davis and Pastor Davis, because Sister Davis had a habit out of, you know, when the bread starts to get old, and we were raised up on eating the end pieces, but when she became glamorous, now she don't eat the end pieces, so she kind of hunts it up. Yeah. Throw it out there for the birds. In the midst of it, one day she was going out there and she was throwing the pieces of bread out there, and in the midst of it there was an eagle that was flying, and the eagle dropped down and picked up a baby rabbit, and he went on about his business. So she looked at Pastor Davis as if he could do something, but he couldn't do anything about that because it was nature. But that's what an eagle does deep down. He sits back and he waits on his prey. The eagle is kind of picky. You know how it is in life. Some of us, they say, I'm a picky eater. You can't stand to see somebody when you go eat and it takes them so long to eat because they got to pick over everything they eat. But don't trip on that. Let them eat what they eat. If they want to peel the skin off the chicken, let them peel it off. If you like fried chicken, when they peel the skin off the chicken, you tell them that they ain't doing the plate and you grab the skin. Learn how to wait on it. Amen, somebody. So that there's times that you want to be going through, but you have to wait it out because you're growing in grace. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I got grace. I got grace. So that's how I'm able to grow on grace. And you know about grace, don't you? Grace was God's ability to do for you what you could not do for yourself. That's why sometimes when I go in the church and I hear some of these old songs, before we got praise teams, when the choir used to march in and all those things, we don't do those things no more. When we used to have choirs and then you have mothers' boards and the deacons' boards, and notice I said boards in our ministry, but even in the midst of that, old mother would get over there and she'd shake her head, kind of rock back, and what she was doing, she was stirring up that grace every time she rocked her head back, because she was thinking about how far God had brought her and her children through. And the church says, amen. Is there anybody that want to get on their feet right now and you just want to give God the praise for grace? And as I get ready to close, I'm excited because of the text. And in the text, Isaiah said, but they that wait on the Lord, what shall they do? They shall renew. And if you in this house and you've been praying about some things, do yourself this favor. Grab your neighbor's hands. Y'all know how it is in this church. We like to grab hands and we like to shake our neighbors and we like to put our hands together. But as you grab your neighbor's hands, shake your neighbor's hands and tell your neighbor, God don't get in a hurry, but he's always on time. Let loose of your neighbor's hands, and if God has done anything for you, put your hands together and tell the Lord, say, Lord, I thank you for your grace. Say, Lord, I should be here, but because of grace, I'm still here. Say, Lord, I remember there was a time in my life when I did not think about the preacher, when I did not think about my Bible, when I did not think about being baptized, when I did not think about praying, but I'm here on this Sunday morning, and I thank God for his grace, because when I did not pray, there was somebody praying for me. And if you're in this house and you are a recipient of somebody praying for you, touch your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I'm so glad that somebody prayed for me. And let me get you uncomfortable. Get out of your seat and go hug 7 people and tell them, I'm praying for you. Hug 7 people and tell them, I'm praying for you. If you and I can pray for one another, what do you mean, Pastor Martel? If you and I can pray for one another, the Bible says, where there are 2 or 3 gathered together, touching and agreeing. What do you mean, Pastor? What is touching and agreeing? Touching and agreeing, it simply means I fall down on my knees and cry out, Father, I stretch my hand to thee. No other help, no other help, no other help, help I know. And sometimes you got to be like the eagle. You got to be like the eagle and fly around and look at your prey and pick out your prey. And when you finally get it, you tell the Lord, thank you. Is there anybody that's thankful in the house? Somebody shout, thank you. I'm making it out. I'm waiting on it. I know you got something for me. Wait on the Lord. And ye shall renew your strength. Take it easy. Be calm. Walk and not faint. Don't give in and don't give up. And just know that the scripture, it admonishes us, you and I, not to get ahead of God, but to go with God. Is there anybody that's excited enough to say, you know what? I'm tired of getting ahead of God. Because every time I get ahead of God, I mess things up. I just mess it up. Just give God the glory and the praise.